All right, so I want to talk a little bit about what invisible design and designing for emotion is, and it's important to us as designers in the near future. So, on the next slide, I want to show you an example of what invisible design is. All right, so you may be wondering why I just showed you kind of this transfixing video, but I'm going to show you that same content in a little bit of a different format. So just remember kind of how you felt viewing that video and how you feel viewing it again in this next format. Okay. So even though I was showing you the exact same content, the first experience is considered invisible design just because you're able to view the content that you are interested in without any obstructions of your view. And unfortunately, the second experience that I showed you is rather typical of what um, a user interface or user experience is like on a website or a software or even a mobile phone application, where a lot of times we're kind of sifting through this visual clutter, whether that's advertisements, navigation, just, you know, unnecessary content on the page, when in all reality we have one objective or one goal, and interfaces aren't currently doing users any justice by kind of cluttering or not making that experience quote unquote invisible. So there's a reason that car interfaces don't look like this. Um, the cockpit of an airplane looks like this because the pilot has to go through, years and very extensive training just to be able to operate it. However, cars are accessible to the general public. So if we made them as complex as how this image is illustrating, they wouldn't be accessible to the general public. And even if they were, you can imagine the consequences of having such a complex interface. The amount of car crashes would skyrocket, and then related to that, of course, the amount of deaths would skyrocket. So the objective of the user is really just getting from point A to point B, using their car. So if you think about your car's interface currently, it's rather minimal, and it's designed in a way that's not meant to be distracting. So my question is, why do we still have interfaces that look like this, where content, a whole bunch of different content is kind of pining for my attention? There's almost countless call to actions, and in all reality, as a user, I have one objective to get from point A to point B. And this site and these sites aren't allowing me to do that in a very clear or intuitive way. So there happens to be a lot of frustration, or a lot of work that I have to put into as a user to get to the content that I'm actually looking for, sifting through all this content that I'm actually not very interested in. Jared Spool is one of the kind of leaders in this whole invisible design movement, and he says when things are going well in the design, we don't pay attention to them. We only pay attention to things that bother us or frustrate us. So if we look at an example of a current interface that could be considered as invisible, this is the top of the Airbnb homepage. And the reason it's invisible is for a couple of different things. So first off, it has personalization. So right when I come to this site, I'm automatically logged in. I see my name and my user image. So right off the bat, I have some sort of connection to this interface just because it remembers me, it remembers my name. Also, if we consider the way that this interface is speaking to us, it doesn't have a huge banner across it saying, book your next B&B. It says welcome home, which is a lot more conversational, which is a lot more like somebody would tell me, if I were to stay with them. There's no visual clutter. So I'm not seeing a lot of advertisements for the latest B&Bs or maybe there's coupons or specials going on. There's a very clear call to action that the site is giving me. And the reason for that is because they anticipate the action that I want to take. Now, as I scroll down this page, they do advertise. I think they're having a special on private islands right now, or tree houses. And then, of course, they have some featured B&Bs. But they know that the majority of their users, their anticipated action is they already know where they want to go and they want to be looking in their specific area rather than being blocked by this wall of visual clutter and other call to actions. They just allow their user to take the action that they anticipate that they want to take. All right, so I want you guys to look at this image and I want you to think about what this image makes you feel. I'll give you a couple seconds. All right, so I think we can all agree that this image kind of is very emotive and it provokes feeling of, happiness and maybe adventure, very friendliness, or and you would get these same feelings if you were interacting with your friends or a group of people that were really happy. It looks maybe like they're traveling. So I think we can all kind of agree that this image is pretty emotive and it provokes kind of this connectivity potentially with these people in this image. So keep that in mind. Because unfortunately, this is what companies are typically doing with their interfaces. A lot of times they have our back to us, and our concerns are, behind them or beneath them as users. So we have to consider, businesses consider the objective of conversion rates and increased revenue and selling white papers and increasing their list of leads, whereas the actual goals of the users fall very short to those business objectives. So Aaron Walter, who wrote Designing for Emotion, which is probably one of the most recognized books on this topic, he says, this is who we are. We are born with firmware that guides us, and emotion is at the core of that code. Emotion is a fundamental part of who we are as humans, and it plays a foundational role in effective design. And I think we can all agree with this. We're emotional people, whether we like it or not, and we connect with things in a way that maybe we can't even describe. But if we think about how interfaces are constructed right now, at least most of them, it's a very alien interaction. They speak to us as if we are kind of this, as if we are customers rather than if we are people. So if we construct, as designers, if we put forward this movement of connecting with people with our interfaces, not only on on an enjoyable level, but a memorable level as well. Putting those objectives, the business objectives, still at the forefront, but being able to connect with the users as if, you know, more so as if you were having a conversation with somebody, less so, talking to this foreign object. Thank you.